And that's the attitude, actually, that Gen Z has towards brands. First of all, you can see across here, this was a study that Marketing News shared about Gen Z's, what they felt about brand and what was important to them. 53% would support a brand if they showed responsibility, like corporate social responsibility to the environment, to society, and things like that. That was important to them. 40% had boycotted a band or a brand at some time because they didn't do what they said. They didn't walk the walk. The brand didn't, and they weren't genuine. 51% does value the brand reputation. But more than that, most of all, they care about the quality and the price of the product. They take that over the reputation or the brand name. This is where we talk about.
Like when it comes to clothes, I'll walk in this. I was really bad for a long time at walking in, and I'm like, I might wear this. I'll just get it anyways in case. Now I'm better at, will I actually wear this or will I not?
Yeah, I try to buy clothes that I'm actually gonna wear.
Yeah, I don't care. I'll buy it. Especially if it's like Marshalls and it's cheap. I'll just get it.
I love Marshalls.
Why?
Because you can they have everything there. They've got good shampoo there, they've got shoes there, they've got clothes there, they've got candles. Let me tell you about the Marshalls candles. They are so good smelling. I have so many Marshalls candles. That's my favorite thing in Marshalls is the candles.
I just like them because they have really expensive name brands. I bought multiple Calvin Klein hoodies and shirts for 75% off what they would be originally. They get good brands in, and with their athletic wear, they have Reebok and DKNY and really good brands, Nike, Adidas, and it's cheap, but they're still quality.
The one thing that means the most to me or matters the most to me is the benefit that I will receive from that product. I weigh, how I'm going to use it, when am I going to use it, how often will I use it, what will it do for me. Is it going to make me happy? The one thing that I look at the most is the overall benefit. That's pretty much the biggest thing that I look at.
So they put a lot of thought into their purchases, big and small. They put a lot of time into it. And these are the top 10 coolest brands according to some research they are most aware of and what they find is the coolest. You've got YouTube and Xbox and Nike. Oreo, yeah. Oreo is very important, and Doritos. PlayStation, Netflix, of course, Google, Chrome, YouTube, GoPro. All these are what Gen Z considers to be one of the coolest brands, or the top 10 coolest brands. One reason for Netflix being considered cooler is that they listen to the consumer. They do it through the consumer's profile. They see what they're watching, a lot like Amazon does. They see what they're monitor what they're watching, and so they'll make movie and show recommendations for the consumer. So Gen Z likes that customization. Panera Bread, where Dakota and I met, the kids like them because they have improved their the way we can communicate with them, and I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. And then Nike, I'd like to point out, especially with them, remember I said about the diversity issue. Gen Z is really big on diversity and equality, in a variety of different ways. And so Nike had come out with a campaign called Equality, and they were a huge success. This campaign was. It really, really spoke to this Gen Z group. Pepsi tried a similar campaign. I can't remember the name of that one, but they did not do as well because it came out looking fake and disingenuous, and Gen Z saw right through it. And actually, Pepsi ended up having to pull the campaign out because that's where that boycotting stuff might have come into play. But this is an example of what Nike has done with this campaign. Hopefully I can get it to play. Okay. Now I lost my mouse. There we go.
Is this the land history promised? Here, within these lines, on this concrete court, this patch of turf, here, you're defined by your actions, not your looks or beliefs. Equality should have no boundaries. The bonds we find here should run past these lines.
It's been a long time coming.
Opportunity should not discriminate. The ball should bounce the same for everyone.
Change gon' come.
Worth should outshine color.
Oh, yes, it
If we can be equals here,
We can be equals everywhere.
will. Change gon' come. Oh, yes, it will.
All right, that was a great commercial by Nike, and you could see they made it realistic, just what Gen Z wants. They had celebrities and professional athletes in it, but they put them in with normal, regular people and made it just genuine and realistic. So. Gotta love technology. All right, so that was talking a little bit about brands, and now we're going to move on into media. I've got a typo up there. We'll look a little bit about the different types of media. Tell me, what is your favorite? Who can give me their preferred platform for traditional media? We're talking TV, radio, AM, FM radio. Print, magazine, billboards. Okay, magazine, radio, Pandora, or AM, FM? Cool. Kind of expect to see advertising in there, aren't you? Yeah, what about digital media? Maybe instead of favorite, what do you recall? Where do you recall seeing advertising in digital media? Pop-up ads? The advertisements you might see in social media? In your feed? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And then in social media, somebody tell me your favorite platform on social media. Instagram? And what generation are you? Gen X, right? Okay. It's hard to see back there because of the sun coming in. Huh? Facebook? I'm sorry? Yes? That's, Twitter? Okay. LinkedIn? Anybody into Snapchat? How many Gen Zers do we have in the room? Everybody's pointing to him. Yeah, and you guys are into Snapchat. Yeah, that's pretty much common knowledge. I didn't have to do a lot of research on that one. But Gen Z is in a little bit still into some traditional media. There are 3 traditional advertising platforms that they have a positive perception towards, which means that they are accepting of advertisements through these different medias. Their top ones are billboards, cinema. You know, they go to the movies and they know that they're going to show commercials and trailers and stuff like that at the beginning of a movie at the theater. And they're cool with that. And in magazines. Radio consumption in a car, I was surprised to find out that 35% of Gen Z do listen to AM, FM radio. Well, they have it on. They have it on. I mean, I can say that about myself, right? I have it on, and I'll catch the end of a song. I'm like, I like that song, but I missed it because I was daydreaming. But then Spotify, Pandora, Sirius, you know, they are used a lot in a car. But 69% of Gen Zers watch 2 or more hours a day of TV, traditional TV. 70% of them do watch YouTube, though, too. And this does show you the TV consumption. Netflix does lead the way. But as I said, cable TV isn't completely dead yet. They're still in there. See, I had a couple other statistics written down here. 72% of Gen Zers still go to the mall at least one day a month. They like that experiential shopping. So, you know, retail is seeing a decline, but they're still out there. They like to try things on, and they like to touch and feel and things. And then direct mail. I was really interested the other day when I found some research that said, let me make sure I have this number right, 83% of Gen Zers like getting things in the mail, in the traditional mail, direct mail. Yeah, they feel like it's just a traditional thing that they like. Yeah. Now remember, these are all generalized numbers, so we do have to keep that in mind. This is where they prefer, like I said, they kind of expect advertising, or they have a positive impression toward advertising on these different platforms. Out of home, which is your billboards and your signage, your wraps on vehicles and things like that, they know they're going to see this stuff. They're okay with it. The cinema is really big. Magazines, 38% expect to see. Traditional advertising and newspapers, and you know, television's not too far behind, and radio. They don't really care too much for the ads on the radio, but the other media, they're not too bad with. So let's take a look at the tech devices that they like. No surprise here, their smartphone. 75% of Gen Zers have a smartphone. As a matter of fact, the average age for their first smartphone is 12 years old today. Forgetting it's become so important that it's a rite of passage. It's not just something new they get, it's an actual rite of passage for this generation. 45% use laptops over the 30% who are on PCs. The convenience of the laptop is just really nice for them. And they do, you know, they are serious about their education. So I think that's part of the reason why the laptop and PC are so high. And then here's a video. This is an interesting one of my group of Gen Zers on their life with a smartphone.
Personally, my cell phone is absolutely everything to me. I use it for almost everything. I use it to wake me up in the morning. I use many apps for social media, for read the news on my phone. I use it to track my workouts, even track my calories that I intake during the day. I use it to call my parents. I use it to text my friends. I use it to FaceTime my friends. My cell phones are just so important and such an essential part of the human life. I just use it for everything, absolutely everything.
I literally wake up with enough time to go through on social media before I have to actually get up. If I have to get up if I need to get up at 9, I'll wake up at 8:30 to sit there and like go through everything. Or like check up with the people I follow on YouTube if they posted a new video. My phone doesn't leave my hand in my pocket all day long, pretty much. I use Pandora for, I've been using Apple Music recently, because if I don't have service, I got my do my birthday service, so I just download different songs and do that. I use Netflix all the time, and that's all I've done. I don't know why I have a TV, so I have to use it to watch it on my phone. But I'm back between every single social media site, like mostly throughout the day. It just doesn't leave me.
I had this one friend, and his name is Vic, and we've been friends since I transferred to Notre Dame my freshman year, and he's been one of my best friends ever since. And I think it was our sophomore year, I want to say. It was our sophomore year, and at my high school, you had to turn in your cell phone in this little case every day because they just took them just so you weren't using it during school. Well, he didn't turn it in, and he got caught with it, and they took it away from him for a week. And I remember it was after school. And he came up to me, he said, man, this is the worst day of my life. And I was like, what's wrong, man, what happened? He was like, they took my phone. I was like, oh man, that's crazy. He was like, what'd you do? He's like, well, I didn't turn it in, and if you're gonna take it away for a week, and I just hate my life right now. And I was like, listen man, you gotta listen to the rules. He's like, I know, but he's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. He said, I use my cell phone for everything. He's like, I can't text my girlfriend now. I can't talk to any of my friends. It's like, life's gonna suck. And I was like, probably right.
I had to include that story from Dakota because it was just.
Personally, my cell phone is.
But yeah, they think it's the end of the world if they lose their cell phone. It's crazy. With some online media, some of their preferred ad formats that they're cool with. It's all right for them. To some extent, mainly desktop displays. That's where they anticipate advertising and they will tolerate it when it's just online advertising. Online search, it drops down a little bit though when we get to the mobile and the video. You're going to see a clip here specifically about the video of a new strategy marketers are using and how much Gen Z dislikes it. But, those are the least tolerant when it comes to online marketing. Oh, it must be later. I have that. Okay. So in regards to social media, again, like I said, I put this up here because, just to share where social media platforms are going. But we know this. This was a particular study by Piper Jaffray, and we can see how Facebook, in regards to Gen Z, has really, really dropped. Twitter has really, really dropped. They're primarily users. There's still a lot of them on these accounts. I think like 77% are users on Facebook. They use Facebook more to scroll or find information or something. They don't really interact a lot on Facebook. And this is kind of the same way with Twitter. Instagram is growing in this generation because they're able to show their creativity side and with creating pictures and the selfies and things like that. It's an inspiration to them. And then Snapchat, of course, is growing like crazy, and they like Snapchat and Whisper and those kind of programs because, for one thing, they're running away from their parents, all right? We all know that. We know that they were on Facebook first, the younger generation. It was millennials at the time. And then, they got into it. Well, then along come Gen X and the baby boomers, and we got on Facebook. And So the millennials ran away to Twitter, and then we thought, well, let's just follow them because it must be cool. And then along come Gen X and baby boomers following them into Twitter, and they're like, oh my God, I can't get away from my parents. You know, and so they jump to Instagram. Well, we jump into Instagram, and Gen Z's the same way. Well, now they go over to Snapchat, and it's so confusing. I don't think many of us in Gen X and baby boomers can figure it out as easily. But they like the privacy of it. There's anonymity in Whisper and in Snapchat, and it's temporary options. Where you put something on Facebook or Twitter, it's like there forever, even if you delete it. But not so much of the feeling on Snapchat because it's just there for a little bit and then goes away. I think that's part of the reason why probably Facebook has created the Facebook stories and things like that, is to try and pull them back in with these temporary options. And what do Gen Z, what are they doing on social media? They spend half their time on social media because they're bored and they're scrolling through things. They're just trying to pass some time away. They're looking for humor. They want to see things that are funny. They're connecting with friends. They're checking out what's on the news. And they use different platforms for these different things. They'll network with their friends more over on Snapchat, but they'll look for news on Twitter and Facebook. They share on primarily the Snapchat and the Instagram and things like that. And they can find humor on just about all of them. I found it interesting that why, Gen Z spends a lot of time on their social media accounts. And some of the reasons why said they have the fear of missing out, FOMO, or the FOLO is the fear of living offline. And so that's part of the reason why they spend so much time on social media. It said over 50% of them go on social media just to check their likes or comments on their posts or on their comments. Over a third of them are looking to see if their friends are getting together without them. That's their purpose. And 21% of them, they go on social media to confirm that no one is saying something bad about them or hurtful. But actually, social media shows up 11th on their priority list. Their friends, their family, their education, what job they're going to have, even their pets are higher on their priority, even though they probably spend more time on the social media. The things that they primarily look at when they're on their smartphones: online video, their messaging app, they're doing social networking on the different social media platforms, and playing games. And I like that playing games are the lowest, because if they're going to be on there, I like for them to be looking for information or connecting with people. My kids and I always had the challenge of me keeping them off the playing the games thing. I'm not a big fan, but. And then this is what I find most interesting, though. When we're looking at their receptivity towards advertising, and then compare that to the time that they spend on certain platforms, this is what I find really interesting. And I think this is a good call for integrated marketing communications. Today all we hear is like, oh, you got to be on social media. You got to be on social media. You've got to have organic SEO and all these things, and that's cool. But at the same time, you can see they are spending, this is the percentage of spending greater than an hour on the medium. Which, they don't spend a lot of time in magazine and newspaper, radio, a little bit more in TV and out of home. But look how receptive they are to advertising on those medium, on each of those media. They're greatly receptive to it because they expect it to be there. Now, when you start getting into their smartphone, on their laptop, there's a negative receptivity toward advertising. Yeah, they're spending a lot more time on it, but they don't want advertising there. And that's when that 8-second filter kicks in. So this is something, like I said, this to me is telling us, yes, we need to have these IMC strategies. We may not put the biggest part of our budget on these traditional, but they are there, and they expect to see advertising there, and they'll receive them, or more likely to receive them. All right, this might be I think this is the video clip.
Facebook videos. Whenever they started like putting ads
Yes.
in the middle of videos on Facebook, I quit watching. Like I don't use Facebook as much.
Yeah, as soon as I see an ad pop up, I'm like, okay, done with that one.
I
Keep
would
going.
go off the video and keep
Kind of
scrolling.
like Snapchat too, they put advertisements in Snapchat.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at a story, it pop up something,
Yeah.
if you're focused from that snap.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why it's literally in the middle of the video. Like, they will cut the video off
YouTube
and
does
put
it
one
now.
in there.
Like there's some YouTube channels that I watch and they do it too. Like it's not bad if it's at the beginning, but in the very middle, and then you just lose my attention completely and I move on. I'm not gonna sit there and watch a 15-second video. Like it's 15 seconds, but it's my attention's 15 seconds. Later.
I think it's given, to see advertising on TV or on billboards. That's given, you can't really avoid that. When it comes to like on your cell phone or mobile device, I just find it irrelevant, annoying. I don't see, a couple of advertisements are okay, but excessive amounts, I don't see the point in it. I really don't.
How many of you are, when you're watching a video on Facebook or something and then the ad pops up in the middle of it? Have you noticed that? Yeah, is anybody else annoyed with that? Yeah, so it may not just be Gen Z, but they're especially annoyed with it. And finally, I'm running out of time, so I'm going to go quickly through this. Their ads toward online ad formats. So this is their attitude when they're just considering online advertising, which ones would be most acceptable toward them. And if you do want to use online only, the mobile app rewards, they love that. The Panera Bread where you can get rewards, or a lot of companies do that anymore. Dick's Sporting Goods, I actually get points for every 10,000 steps that I do in a day. I mean, that's very cool. I know. Social click per page. What it is they like to have control of it. The skippable ads. You can skip this ad after 3 seconds. They'll tolerate those things. The end banner, and you can see all of those are things that they can control. And so if you give them control, they're more acceptable of it. But when you've got the audio play, the non-skippable, and those pop-up ads on the mobile app, they'll deal with the banner running at the bottom, but when it's the whole screen shows up in an ad, they're not the happiest. So finally, a few marketing tips that I wanted to give you is to know the target market's media habits. Of course, we do that anyway, but don't get caught up in the thinking that Gen Z is just like millennials, because they are different. And it's going to continue changing. 10 years from now, it's going to still be a little different. So watch them. Keep it simple. You can, whatever the last S you want to use. I say silly. Keep it simple, silly. Remember that 8-second filter. Be fun, cool, hip, and funny. They like that humor. Tell your story. They want to know about your brand. They want to know about your product. They want to hear the backstories. Use the hashtags, the emojis, their visual pictures and video. Make the ads shareable, because if they like your product, remember what they do? They'll become your influencer on social media, so let them share it. and be interactive with them. Use real people. Or if you are going to use celebrities like Nike did, put them in the environment with real people. Incorporate social responsibility. Use digital tactics, but don't forget the traditional. They are there. And be realistic, authentic, and genuine. And finally, I want to show one last commercial. I think this is, yes, ma'am. The next generation? Alpha. The one, yeah. I want to show you one last commercial real quick. I thought this was a great commercial. It's a little bit older, but it catches the attention of Gen Z. You'll notice the first 3 words catch it right off the bat. It's combining traditional with non-traditional. It's extremely funny. And when I showed this in my classroom, my students just roll on the floor.
Ship my pants? Right here? Ship my pants, you're kidding.
You can ship your pants right here.
You hear that? I can ship my pants for free.
Wow, I just may ship my pants.
Yeah, ship your pants. Billy, you can ship your pants too.
I can't wait to ship my pants, Dad.
I just shipped my pants, and it's very convenient.
Very convenient.
I just shipped my drawers.
I just shipped my nightie.
I just shipped my bed.
If you can't find what you're looking for in store, we'll find it at Kmart.com right now and ship it to you for free.
So, like I said, Kmart, even though they're not around so much, but they they did incorporate a lot of things Gen Z is wanting right now. So, and if you have any questions or if you'd like to connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn. I have my own Facebook page, Marketing Professor, and I'm also on Twitter. I am on Snapchat, but I can't remember the handle or password. I am on Instagram too, and it's similar. If I try to keep them all the same, so I welcome you to join me. And are there any questions, or did you want? Okay. Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am. Oh, did you want to go back? Yeah. She's sorry.
I have Invisalign too, so it makes it harder to hear. First off, thank you. That was a great presentation.
Thank you.
So I guess what I would like to know out of just your research is how are you finding this generation, and I think you said alpha generation, which is where my daughter, who is 5, lies.
Yes.
This really made me think a lot, not as a marketer, but as a consumer, how much she influences my buying. Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering how much in your research at all, have you found how much this Generation Z is influencing their parents and their grandparents?
The Generation Z, that's at 200 billion annually. Yes, it's where they're influencing their parents, their grandparents, maybe older siblings or whatever into making purchases. They're very influential, yeah. Yep. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I'm a sports writer. I work for a website, which is like 80% of the content is subscription. That's the thing going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Which is frightening, based on what you showed, because their system is like a bank. They're not going to be loyal to subscription. But like everything I've read, like her few stuff says that like 55, 60% of people pay for the news. And that's probably going to be the model going forward, because there's just going to be fewer free services.
Right.
How do you steer that ship? Can you change their opinions on that? Do they come around? Because the concern is that not enough people come around, and all that revenue dries up. Websites go.
Well, and then too, you have to remember that Gen Z right now, they're the oldest of this cohort are college students.
Well, this is college sports.
Okay. But college students never have any money. They might influence a parent to help them get subscriptions and stuff. I would suspect that as they get older and they start getting out into the workforce and making their own money, then we'll see improvements on their spending that way for items such as that.
Do they graduate, so to speak,
They're just,
prior levels?
What do you mean?
As they get older, they become, like you said, some of their behaviors pattern. These latest generations, parents and grandparents.
Right.
They've got
Well, I just think they're continuing to be influenced because they're still in that young adult, and I think as they mature even more, that I think that their spending habits may change as well. This is one of those things we just have to keep monitoring, and seeing what changes do come. So, anybody else? Yes, sir.
You were showing the dislike or the resistance to a lot of the digital advertising, and the great difference between that and a lot of the other mediums that we have available is like the newspaper, magazines, billboards. You're not forced to see those or take those in. Do you see across all different types of cohorts that same resistance is there, more or less, compared to Gen Z?
Well, I haven't really done that in-depth of a research, but from personal experience, it seems like the older generations may be a little more tolerable of it, just because we have a little bit more patience than the Gen Z. They want things like right now. They want that immediacy. We're all a little bit like that, but them more so, I think, generalized.
Google AdWords is not super intrusive.
Right.
It's kind of like billboard, where whenever you get into videos and certain websites and things like that, things pop up. It's just, that's your personal device that you use all the time. It's a very aggravating thing to have.
Right. Well, and some research I also found was it's interesting that Gen Z is moving to what they call a dark media. It is like Messenger and things like that, where they can avoid the analytics, the online analytics, and they can communicate with each other because they know. I mean, they're not stupid. They know that when they are sharing stuff on Facebook and all these other platforms, they know that all this data is being collected on them, and privacy is really important to them. So they're moving a little bit over into the things like Messenger and stuff through the apps or whatever that doesn't have the instant analytics. Right. Yeah. So, yes, sir. Price to them is very important. They, I mean, I've not researched it, but from my experience, if I put out there that I have to buy a textbook that's a couple $100 or something, they're freaking out on me, and they want quality, they want access to those textbooks, but they want it at a good price. So a lot of them use that rental option. Or the online and some things like that. So, and I've had students tell me that they prefer print over the digital textbooks, but I've had students tell me that they will go search Amazon and any other kind of website they can to find the cheapest used textbook they can get, so. Mm.
And I remember when I had her talking to a teacher friend of mine and saying, is she ever going to have a textbook? And that was 5 years ago. So I wonder what, she'll be moving up that generation as well. Do that. That's very interesting thing.
I can almost imagine that generation, yeah, they'll just get a,
I think the biggest challenge is going to be for like your brick and mortar institutions, not so much the online.
exactly.
Essentially, it's, you know, being in a, at Wesleyan, being in that traditional college classroom,
Mhm.
if you don't have a classroom equipped with the latest technology, what kind of barriers are you, or challenges are you going to
Yeah.
if they don't have that input text, how are you going to access that face-to-face lecture for that day?
And I do see a difference between where I teach online classes for one university and I teach the classrooms for another. I do think that kind of makes a little bit of a difference as well. And we don't have a bookstore anymore, really. They don't carry any books. We have e-campus where you go in there and get them. And I think part of it too depends on when they get their textbook. If they get on the ball and get it early enough that they can actually receive a print textbook, or if it's 2 weeks into the class and they've got a test in the week 3, they're going to jump on there and get the online textbook. So, yeah, it kind of depends on that as well. Anybody else? Thank you so much for your attention today. I hope you walk away with some more knowledge on this amazing generation. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.